Oguaa jaga, jaga jaga, waja shong. Oguaa jaga, jaga, waja shong. Oguaa jaga, jaga, waja shong. Kaja Israel, kaba Egypt, kaja Ethiopia, kaja Sudan, waja shong. Kaja Ikushima, wani me kona me waja shong. So Timbuktu, Ghana, Mali, Sumanguru, waja shong. Oguaa jaga, waja shong. So Timbuktu, Ghana, Mali, Sumanguru, waja shong. Manchester key, Sumanguru, Oguaa jaga, waja shong. Osetutu, Wamasa, Yasantwa, waja shong. Kaja Israel, kaba Egypt, kaja Ethiopia, kaja Sudan, waja shong. Akwaka chuma wanye, afo kelacha, akachuma wanye, anunyamfeng. Akwaka chuma wanye, afo kelacha, akachuma wanye, anunyamfeng. Ameke minyamatu, ameke onyangotu, ameke wanyangwatumo. Ameke minyamatu, ameke onyangotu, ameke wanyangwatumo. Ameke wanyangwatumo, buina chacha, kachuma waka wabanya. Kaya jenje sanya mwabawa, kaya jenje sanya mwabawa, kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Kaya danjino, kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Nyumwabawi, kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Wachuchu wachuni, kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Wachuchu wachuni, wanachuna mebama yo. Kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Akwaka chuma wanye, afo kelacha, akachuma wanye, anunyamfeng. Akwaka chuma wanye, afo kelacha, akachuma wanye, anunyamfeng. Them say me no fit jump, them say you no fit jump, them say we no fit jump. Them say me no fit jump, them say you no fit jump, them say we no go fit jump. Ameka wanya watu mabuina chacha, ikachuma waka wabanya. Kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Nagbe wa kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Padi kete ku kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Umre kwedu, kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Umre kwedu, kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Sumilinde uradipa, kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Kinyabudu kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Wachuchu wajuni kaya jenje sanya mwabawa. Wachuchu wajuni mwenechuna mebama yo.
Yapa machao, yasramo. Oh, yapa machao. Yasramo. Ah, ayo. Yapa machao. Osaba manade shidamo ya kumfreye. Osachame. Yesrao. Abotel mala. Achape mala. Yayin papa peine edua. His Excellency. Yesre edua odo. Na yechi ane atenase amane o.
Papa, yeah. Adi, the man, ya anyman. What's that? I'll tell you.
I'm a matron, so I know.
And I'm my brother, Pome Kumfreye. And I'm Memins, and I Kumfreye. At the Shidom, Omen, I am Wome Kumfreye. And I go go no. Dear Bobo, dear Dansan, where do quail? In painful catch and da. Yin Sasu. We could book room, I was to Kurumo ye. Yenia Yawafa. Yanyanko of the double bodum, a betia, yin sasu. And yes, a better in chia, Nan Sanan, Penaka, Aquabir in my chain, not in Yinan, Mamma Yayin. Munia Chami, baby, what fair phone, what I know of his son. Yin sasu, would you do? Mamma opinion. The paying for bear was ratty. They burden in chair, the Sequandima.
Ochamia. Dame Yachacher, the man ye design. Yerabanaya ma. Mayashason, the man ye. Acquired him. He has some pa. Stampay. Akwaba wom.
Hey, na kumfreye. Aye nyamia obosoro nya asase. Na no tuma wo nyina ya ne de. Se wa ba kansa wa hadza. Nyi na ombrase ba se to fihin na wa bompai. Ana ebisa manye.
Adom heni nyansafa wonsa so won banyina ado. Nti se yerbo abozina osena ofata. Ana peye you ayo na yakamfo da iye nyame tetsenterede obiara nyi ho a onye ose obiara nyi ho a onye obeye na owo nyansa nyimpare ntumu hunano nyansa mpo ontraw de yɛbɛka wo efua onyame ɔdoma nkoma yɛda wase anapɛ hwɛ me epo ewia na yɛ nfɛfɛɛfɛw hwɛ no mu mframa ɔrebɔ nyame yɛ kɛse yɛda wase daa yɛda wase wɔ akwantupɔmpo yɛda wase dɛ tɛhyɛma da bɔdwom na ndɛ yɛ huan ho enyinanyim yɛda wase yɛn asɛmbisa anapa yi ne dɛ gye wɔn da ase gye wa yɛ gye wɔn kanfo na wɔn tuntun fintindua bi wɔ hɛn abrobɔ ma ɔrma yɛn yi wa yɛ hɛn kwande nyina paguma hɛn ehyezi ɔse de mi ɔwɔ ahyehyɛ ne daado zɔ bɛyɛ mbusu ne san nso paguma hɛn na yɛwia yɛn ho dɛ ɔwɔ ewuraze wɔn ma nyi hɛn bɛtena hɛn finfin mpo bɛtena hɛn egom na ze yɛ ontu hompa mfɛnhyɛ nkrɔfo nyinaa enyitu dɛ yɛbɔko na sɛ tɛkyɛma wo hyia anade anan hyia ntutu biara mba gye patampa srɛ yɛsrɛ te hin pɛyi na yɛma hɛn adom ne nti amen
ɛyɛ tufu yɛn de wase yo ana abobɔn kumfre ye uni anom adɔfo do abobodom o men kumfre ye uni achamia enyo kɔkɔ fi kwan ba o mo nsum onnom wo gu yefunu pam efi wo pe adwene pam na waka kasapa yi nsaso ekita yensu eye bien nje oya sabama ko sa to de bien Oguaa mahin onye na hemfo na no manfo wasem tiaba omo adara mi somti na ta wenwe hu pa na agi ne chesom asema na ne pe wo ahemfie odwene kura na ebien mu na wonya ne ntie ɛyɛ ma mpanyin nyiminyamofo dadaw ɔyɛ onuapa mpanyimpa John Dramani Mahama ɔbaba obi tian nti wakɔ nyinaa na wɔwɔ na atwene nti ɔbɛyɛ a anyimfie du bɔkɔɔ ɔmana wana
Oyezu Penyin John Yansampa Chama me komenyim Osaba machame Monton oye Osaba ma Oguaa mahin na nade shidom da yeso anepe yenama bokwala na asam krubie owo yimpa no ogbo ekwan kwa heaven no mama akoma tofe menye de achepe yale yehye Oguaa na ase achepe yale yehye Oguaa na ase afi otode bien oye osabama kwisata otode bien Oguaa mahin na ba wasoso na edura wagina atum yanke awerɛho a abra the late Fifi Atamas oyane baby kwa no wase oye dadigbu a wobo bi pemaminti wode John idinaze aha na obosusu nenum otunizin ofanda na bapra kope enti amandimen otiambra de baba fie nani mechie weja ochame wada roma yenjina nani mbobia za na ma owo man de nchasebo na femfem chanche wotwe bebeyin na aye fie so de ho na ade wo osaba mani fie ha asam wo ha nya asama oye asambo ne biala ne nkwanya asam wo ha ente yene wura John oba apropo wo central region za no wodanana sineje fe no beje nshira enti oye de anepe obaba ohun ne papa acha ohun na nanu macha odo do bodom na mo wode ye ina ye ema oye ne yiwadu hu ana the order na beti wode hwewa na wede jawe opede December 7th o sign bebedi Ghana president nti nhye no ha aha na wo bom pa ama ne mo nyan na wa akọ no beji bi oda ha so no wode o sign ba ne pe ya banka kakra odo do bodom na onye papa edi mi sese no wetumo de to anamon amane o wayin
anama bonfo me kumfre yo ye nyina ye nsampa Army kumfre ye woni a chami amanye na ebo no ye homododo mo fa fu ne hwana na wo fa san hwana la fu hia hwan isan bi hia hwan sana fu bi ma hwana na so na bafa iye sasu mo woni minime biara na aye nde ahoro ngufom
oyezu mebusia NDC oyezu ya kwere enyim mada roma ochame osaba machame ko sirwaba oyimpe bi ahwe n'enyim na siro wo n'enyim a na enyinje wom motin de hewure da me yaka na oyebebe yin wo fia ha na oni NDC franga twin anyamena domara nkwanhye akonfo eninsefo malamfo ina de awaso yin de come December 7th oloba nti bibi kakra yeba friend na kakra oni minbemen wawro wegu fem na neja so oye bibi kakra odi shado biala odi shado your excellency Miraso, Easy, Wager Fiends and Zamana Sakakra, a heady ye bein waha, ye bebe in waha. Papa, we are Unian Mancano, so how obey do one son about Kako. And say, Nanamoya Kumfrey, or Sabamana, should Amoya Kumfrey. Your Excellency, aha, a year, or Sabamana him fear. Aha, no fun, a minty maden. Aha, ye dressa when ya pimoka piment to my wash. Aha ye Oguaa ju tuma na baby alaji watum osaba manasa mende anapei kakra de ban fogu fam ne ehom ye bako medase also won fancy mbo nhia no kwan
Thank you very much, my father Osabere Makwesiata II, Mahine of the Oguaa Traditional Council. I want to thank you for the usual warm welcome I'm given anytime I come to this palace as a son. I was here several years ago on a very unpleasant duty to break the news of the passing of our mentor, our father, brother, comrade, Professor John Evans Atta Mills. And I remember on that occasion, I was accepted as an adopted son of the Oguaa Traditional Council. And so anytime I come here as a member of the family, and I've been accepted as such and always warmly welcome. Today we're here again. We know the times in which we are. We have an election coming up in barely 2 months from now, and as a son, you have to come back home to receive the blessings of your fathers and mothers to be able to go and contest and win. So we come here with all humility to greet our parents and then also to get their blessings to go into the electoral battle. NDC has a special relationship with the Central Region, and somehow history has made it so. Because from the time of President Rawlings, when he needed to have somebody to support him to contest the elections of 1992, it turned out that Col Kensenaka, the late of blessed memory, was the one who, as a result of the alliance of two parties, emerged as his running mate. After that, in 1996, when he had to run again, Professor John Atta Mills became his running mate and eventually his vice president. And after President Rawlings finished his 2 terms in office, Professor Atta Mills was nominated to replace him as the presidential candidate of our party. He became our leader. All of us followed him. In 2000, unfortunately, we did not win the election. It didn't discourage us. We attempted again in 2004. We didn't win. It didn't discourage us. With him as our leader, we went again in 2008, and by the grace of God, we won the election, and Professor Atta Mills became the President of the Republic of Ghana. In 2012, I was called to the leadership because of the unfortunate passing away of our President, Professor Atta Mills. And when I had to look for a running mate to accompany me, it ended up being Pakwesi Emisata, also a citizen and native of the Central Region. By God's grace, we won the election of 2012, and we continued to do the work that we had to do for the people of Ghana. In 2016, together, we stood again. Unfortunately, the people of Ghana said we should take a rest and let our brothers also come and govern the country. We're in 2020, and I was elected by the NDC party to lead the party again into the elections of 2020. We looked for a running mate. There were 16 people, 3 of them women, the rest men. After a very rigorous process, we cut it down to 5, 4 men, 1 woman. And eventually, when we settled on who should be the running mate, it was the single woman of the 5, who also happened to be a citizen, a native of the Central Region from just close by Commander. She has lived here, she has served her nation well, and she has joined us as the ticket for the 2020 election. So it looks like Central Region and NDC, we have ourselves tied to joint apron strings. I remember when Professor Mills passed away, there were a lot of things he was working on, nationally, but also peculiar to Central Region. He had made many promises, and I stood here and pledged that we'll continue and complete all that Professor Mills had intended to do, not only in the Central Region, but the rest of the country. And we did exactly that. I remember the Kotokraba market. We continued and completed it. I remember the Cape Coast Stadium. We continued and completed it. I remember the polyclinics, 10 polyclinics in Central Region. We continued and provided all those polyclinics in the Central Region. The arrangements with the fishing communities, outboard motors, landing beach committees, we continued all those things that Prof, had in his heart to continue to do for the Central Region. The time has come for elections again, and it is a new vision that we have for the Central Region. Development is something we will do. We did the Cape Coast roads, asphalted all the Cape Coast roads. We were doing a lot of road projects within the Central Region before we left office. We were extending electricity to many communities. We did many small town water projects in the Central Region to provide people with clean drinking water. We built many new community day secondary schools in the region, and we built a lot of health facilities in the region. And so for development and infrastructure, we'll continue to do it. Especially now in our manifesto, we have what we call the Big Push, which is supposed to inject $10 billion in social and economic infrastructure over the next 5 years. And this will cover both social infrastructure projects and economic infrastructure. And part of what is targeted for economic infrastructure is to provide employment for young people in terms of providing industries, agro-processing capacity in all the crop processing zones. And Central Region will play a big role in this program that we're talking about. I remember when I was a young man, anytime I came into Central Region and was driving through towards the university, I used to see the factory on the left there, Sangari Industries. They produce detergents, oils, and all kinds of things. Today, when you pass, the factory is still there, but it's defunct. And this is one of the objectives we set ourselves in our last government, that we will revive some of the industries that existed before. We started with Comenda, the sugar factory that Nkrumah set up. And together with the Indian government, we set up a new factory. That was the phase 1 of the project. Phase 2 was another facility of almost $27 million to grow the sugarcane to feed the factory and to sponsor outgrowers to produce sugarcane, which the factory will buy. Unfortunately, after we left office, that did not become the priority of the new government, so they did not pursue that facility. So we have the factory standing there, but the facility that was supposed to feed the factory with sugarcane, this government has refused to pursue it. And so the factory is standing there with no raw material. We're looking at all those kinds. Ashanti Kumasi Gihok shoe factory, we revived it. And we started to produce boots for our army, our police, and all that. There are many of such projects that we're looking at, and we're looking at Central Region, both in terms of agro-processing capacity, in order that the crops that are produced here are processed for both the local market and for export. I remember we had the Asebu lime factory. All those, potentials we're going to look at. We're going to look at Sangari and see how we can revive that factory, because it was the major employer of young people in Cape Coast. And so by reviving these projects that exist, we cannot be a net importer of everything. We need to produce the capacity to be able to get some of these products for ourselves so that we don't have to spend so much money importing these products. In Central Region, parts of Central Region, rice growing is taking place, coffee production. These are all things we can take advantage of and process locally, both for our local market, so that we cut down how much of those products we import from outside. And so that is the new concept we have. It's not a one district, one factory concept. It is a concept based on what we call agro-processing zones, crop processing zones. So depending on what comparative advantage any region has, we will put in the processing capacity to be able to process the products that they have. You go to parts of this country, they produce tomatoes. And so tomato processing capacity must be put in there. You go another place, they produce cashew. We should be able to process that cashew both for local consumption and for export. You go somewhere, they produce rice. In other places, they produce cassava. We can process the cassava into cassava starch, feed our breweries, feed some of our bakeries with cassava flour to mix with the imported wheat flour so that we reduce how much wheat flour we produce. So we have a very good plan for this country, and Central Region will be a major beneficiary of this project and the plans that the new NDC government has. And so there's a lot that I can talk about, but the main purpose was to come pay our respects to my father and my family, and to seek your blessings as we go into the next election. We're confident that we've done a lot of groundwork, and we're confident that the people of Ghana will give us the mandate to be able to come and implement the People's Manifesto that we have outdoored recently. And so, without much ado, I want to thank you for the warm welcome we always receive when we come here, and to ask you to continue to bless us and pray for us so that victory will be ours in the elections of 2020. Before I sit down, I want to introduce your own son, who has been our member of parliament for several years. He served his constituency very well in Cape Coast South, and NDC has renominated him because of the good works he has done to continue as our parliamentary candidate for the 2020 elections. And so I want to present him to you again and ask you to return him to us in Parliament, so that all these good plans that I've outlined, we can work together to make sure that they are fulfilled. And so I will raise his hand to signify that he is the one accepted officially as a parliamentary candidate for the Cape Coast South constituency, Kweku Ricketts-Hagan. Thank you, Osaberima. Thank you, my father.
I'm Yansampa. Yansampa Ide. Osachami. Osaba Machami. Ide. Oh, yeah, introduction. You waste time. Ide. Ebe abua no bushu de Oguaa. Na odoto kasese na abodem. Osaba manala chablofura. Na de shop domino e penede didigwa ha asamboton. Enti ochame nima oyima asamaka na asamide na nanom yansampo ochame menkwa yeyim.
Na me kunfre yo. My hino so be me kusato to de bien. So ba kana for me.
Don't call boy fire, don't fancy. Yo, and I don't know for ya cream free ye. Yam free ye. Yam free ye. Say, ya free ye, may ya ba. Busy can no when you na aquaba. Oh, you move there, here be one ka fancy. My yam daughter fancy, at it no. So don't portray am and be moody. As you know, you feel fancy. In your yamo aquaba. Her best handsome and sure. A queen aquabida. You could dara so a record. This time around, a queer journey on your qua sabe a kutuku. And when this time we're voting, well, for Mama on Sudan Canon, a be bottom of Janako or Kade or Bayer Bridge. Wa bre bia nsukra ndaho promises akɛse ɛso wababan na yɛhu hwee ba yɛresrɛ nye dɛ memeze kanakan yɛkutuku asɛm a ɔtɔ asoom na ebiara hu dɛ inyo asɛm a wɔreka edzi ɔde yɛsom ɔno na ɛho na wɔbɔ voting wɔpɛ dɛ wɔtei na wɔtei na ɔyɛ wɔn da a ɛna wɔdzi wɔakyi yɛnyim wo kakra yɛnhwɛ yɛnka te dɛ hia bɛyi wɔyɛka gyina baabi kafra waka asɛm bi a ɔde retie bi anaa ɔrehyɛ ahorow ba wɔ baabi kɔma yɛmfa abɔtar ma biara bɛka biara ɔnyɛ hwee na mmom botae a wɔsuo anyim nara ɛna ɛka ɔbɔtɔ asoom mbrɛ no so a aba no ɔbɔtɔ ama suba no so ohia papa ma ebesi abakasa akyerɛ amanfo asɛm a ɔyɛ ebufu mpo wɔka a man reply ɔsɛnde ɛdze ebufu kasa ntutu pii baba wɔka yoo bɔkɔɔ ma ɔwɔ mu ma wɔasusun na wɔaka sɛ ɛyɛ dɛm a abosompa so wɔ bɛdzi w'akyiri nyame so bɛdzi w'akyiri ɛkwan ɔnyɛ wo ko ɔyɛ nyame no ko nti sɛ wɔrekɔko wo ko dza a nyame so ɔbɛpare wo nti fa abɔtar nyame suro biribiara bɛyɛ no hu dɛ sɛbe mɛ ɛhɔ a ɛtena wei nyɛ wara na ɛdze wo ho nyame nyi wo hɔ a ɛnyi hɔ nti fa nsusui pa anuadɔ fa yɛ wo campaign na sɛ yɛ dɛm a nyame so ɔbɔtɔ nsupa egu wo effort do bɛnkan ama central region ahyɛ hɛnbɔ dɛ yɛbɛhu ndzɛma ɔnkankare hɛn mmeranteɛ ne hɛn nketeesia ɔyɛ ɛnam stism a ɔyɛ yɛw dɛ bɛhu hɔn dɛ wɔnyi hwee yɛ wɔhwehwɛ adwuma yɛ wɔnya bi ɔyɛ dam so a ɛna crime rate n ɔrekɔ so the idle hands n ɔtena hɔ a ɔbafo hwehwɛ biribi wɔayɛ nti sɛ ama hɛn asɛm a ɔte dam dɛ adwuma baba ma mmeranteɛ nketeesia wɔanya bi ayɛ dza a na ɔno so nya so yɛbɔbɔ mpae dɛ ɔmbrɛm na yɛnam stism a ma yɛbɛhu ayɛ dɛ wɔfi adwuma rekɔ fie wɔfi fie wɔrekɔ adwuma na enyigye aba efiefi aware a yɛyɛ mmɔframma rekɔ skuul na biribiara wɔayɛ fɛfɛɛfɛ yɛnkasa pii mpae ne dze yɛbɔbɔ ama wo ma aba wo agyanom wo nanom wɔ afie yɛbɔbɔ mpae no ama wo yɛasrɛ nyame dɛ akwantu a ɛretui nara ɔnye wo nanso ma wo nam mpem ɔbo na baabi abɔkɔ biara so wɔngye wo na mbere no so a nara nkasa wɔakyerɛ no tum nsibuma hɔ nyinaa akɔ aba wɔn so a wɔtɔɔ n'akyiri no mesrɛ wɔn ɔyɛ mpanyimfo na wɔdze enyim no ebɔwɔ na ebi dzi ne nsa ato ebi no kwam na mmɔ hɔn a yɛwɔ akyiri no yɛakafa ntɔkwa ne yɛdze reba mesrɛ wɔn wɔmɛhɛ nyinaa yɛmfa abotare yɛmfa ntae n'akyiri yɛreko yɛreham ɔnyɛ nwie yie ma yɛn nyinaa nso yɛmfa abotare yɛmfa ntae n'akyiri ama biribiara anaasɛ baabiara ɔbɔkɔ no asɛm biara ɔbɔka no wɔayɛ asɛm a ɔyɛ dɛ ɔyɛ hɔm ma nkurɔfo wɔehu na wɔato ba no ama no nti ma yɛbɛkae dɛ nyame nhyira wo nyame mboa wo akwane retri nara so on so na nyimomo embre no so a wa kire no tum ya do ase
nsembo ni sha bobi ka ho afi aka Osachami